Are you stuck in the same old routine at work? Do you find yourself hitting a creative wall, unable to see beyond your current perspective? It's time to break free and unlock the power of fresh perspectives. I am David Gouthro, here today with Mark Black, here with on Discover Fresh Perspectives. Let's discover some from Mark. So, Mark, welcome.
Thanks, David. Glad to be here. This is fun.
Now, Mark, what's kind of interesting is that we are opposite ends of the country. I'm in British Columbia, and you are in New Brunswick, I believe.
Correct. Yes. So it is 4 hours. I'm 4 hours into the future.
All right. Well, maybe I can learn something. I should put a few bets down on horse races or something.
There you go.
So, Mark, when we first started talking, we thought we might explore something about your particular feelings these days of being grateful or having gratitude about so many different things, and you said you were a little bit surprised about how you're feeling about that. So perhaps you could just tell our listeners a little bit about that, why that popped up for you today.
Sure. So the context is relevant. So I'm currently going through dialysis treatment for kidney failure, which is a fairly new development in my world. And naturally, that comes with some challenges, not the least of which is the scheduling of those treatments because they're 4 hours at a time, 3 times a week. And as you know, as we both do, we're as speakers, trainers. I do mostly keynote speaking, which means mostly traveling to other places around the world. And so scheduling that with regular dialysis treatments is proving to be challenging. Uh, and yet, amidst that challenge, and I mean the long-term health repercussions of kidney failure, I'm I'm finding myself more at peace and more grateful than I thought I might be. And I don't particularly know why, other than it's not certainly my first rodeo dealing with some challenging situations. But the perspective maybe that comes from that, I guess, is helpful. And I just find myself reflecting on, despite what's going on, the things that are going right. The fact that that I'm Canadian to start with, the fact that I was born where I was, that we have, as flawed as our healthcare system is, and it is, we still have access to treatments when we need them, and for the most part, they don't have tremendous negative impact on our budgets. And the fact that I can get a dialysis treatment anywhere in the country if I need to, at fairly short notice for no cost, is a pretty remarkable thing. And the fact that it works as well as it does. I was looking at my since kidney failure, I've added a bunch of medications to what is already a lot of medications. I think I'm at 30 or something now.
So Mark, so that that's got to catch some people's attention. So maybe you could. So you said this is not your first rodeo. So I think a little more backdrop on the life of Mark Black would be helpful, because I think it even increases the appreciation for the words that you're going to have to offer.
Fair enough. So I had a heart and double lung transplant 22 and a half years ago. So
well, now just pause for a moment to let that sink in. Okay, it's very ordinary for you to be saying that, but
yes.
I'm betting not too many people have known that was even possible or know someone that went through it. So we'll just pause for a moment. So 22 years ago, double lung and heart transplant.
Yes.
Okay, sorry to slow you down there, my friend.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, so I was born with a congenital defect that was corrected at birth with open heart surgery, and then ultimately, after 20-something years of congenital heart disease, the solution was a heart and double lung transplant, which I was fortunate to receive and survive, and then to survive for a very long time, because in that world, we were given 50-50 odds to make it 5 years with the transplant. That was the prediction.
Wow.
So to be still kicking at 22 is a great blessing, but it comes with a pile of medications to make that work. And kidney failure has added to those medications. So as I said, I think I'm at something like 30. There's a mid full in the morning, and then some at lunchtime, and some in the evening, and a mid full at supper or at bedtime. But that too, I look at that and go, the miracle that these work fairly well, and that they don't interact with each other more than they do, because they do interact, but not to a great negative consequence, is just remarkable to me because it wasn't all that long ago that someone with my diagnosis would have been sent home to say goodbye to their family.
So, many people having gone through, well, the first one, and your family. And so did you have your kids before or after your heart double lung?
After,
Okay, and you
yeah,
had how many kids, Mark?
we have three.
Okay, so
We have three. Yeah.
that's a lot on its own, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's 17, 14, and 8. So it's a busy house. Uh, but yeah, and they don't know me any different. This is the first taste of me having any sort of illness at all, because from their perspective, I've been very, very healthy their whole life.
Okay. So, one of the things I'm curious about, like some people when they have that second diagnosis about having to go through dialysis would, I could see people going, "Oh my God, haven't I gone through enough?" I don't know if you've gone through that, but I certainly don't see that in any of our interactions. It's like your spirit is absolutely indomitable. At least your public spirit. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but it'd be so easy to justify. Have I not gone through enough, and now this? But that doesn't seem to have taken hold in you. So, do you have a sense of how you've been able to be who you are today?
Well, thank you for that. I credit a lot of that to my parents, who I think made some phenomenal decisions raising all four of us. We're four boys, but certainly raising a child with health issues, because I was treated like everybody else. I was treated like the other three, and
Mm.
I was taught to deal with challenges as they came, but not to make excuses for the things, to in other words, if I was capable of doing it, I ought to do it, and I ought not to use my health as an excuse to not do things. Um, and on it went. And so I often say, there are two phenomenal human beings who I'm fortunate enough to call mom and dad. I won the birth lottery in that way, and so I had great modeling, and I think that goes a long way.
Mhm.
Um, and certainly my faith plays a role, and I think experience helps too, right? I mean, you go through anybody who's gone through significant challenge in their life, whether it's loss of a loved one or it's an illness or it's an accident or whatever it is, uh, you can kind of gain some perspective from that and frame the new challenges you face based on the old one and say, well, it's not as bad as that, right? So, like, if I can do
Mm.
that, I can do this thing, and it helps to put things in perspective. So, yes, do I have look? And to be 100% transparent, do I have days? Sure, where I,
Mhm.
feel like, "Well, this isn't fair." But then I'm reminded that life isn't fair, and that, uh, if for every challenge that I have that might not be fair, I have others that I don't have that someone else is dealing with, right? Um, so that's what I try and focus on the things that are going right instead of the things that are going wrong.
So my experience of you has been where, we're both the members of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. Probably some of the people that listen to this are as well. And we've been on the board together. And
Mhm.
you've always been someone that's always jumping in. So with the tremendous energy and so this year you're the president of CAPS.
Yeah.
You just said earlier, probably could have picked a better year to do this with the energy
Yeah.
requirement for keeping healthy and all this. But
Yeah.
one of the things I've noticed, and I wonder how much of this contributing factor, Mark, is you're always giving to other people and helping lift them up, and you don't do that by kind of constantly referring back to your health challenges. It's more, you've learned so much from that and you're sharing that. You could share the same messages without having had the same experience. And you're just always helping others grow and give. And it's so wonderful. And is there anything to the notion that some of the ways when we're dealing with challenges that one of the ways through it is to help other people who need help?
Well, I think that's a great insight, David, and thank you for your comments. And I right back at you. I think it takes uh, one to know one, and so I think we both are people that raise our hand when a job needs to be done, and get reward out of that, right? I mean, I do it yes, I like to contribute, but it's selfishly, I also get a ton out of that from the people you meet to the experiences you have. So it's certainly not a selfless endeavor. But um, yes, I think there's something about teaching other people as you're working through these
Mm.
concepts that you're trying to articulate that helps you to understand them better and helps you to figure out how to use them well. And that's certainly what I've tried to do in my speaking and my work with my clients is to reverse engineer my journey and say what parts of this are universally applicable, what parts of this can people implement in their own lives or in their work.
It
Uh,
it reminds me of a book by Richard Bach, and I think it was in No Such Places Far Away or something like that, but it was a comment about we teach best what we most need to know. And it
yes,
seems like that's kind of a theme running through your work.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. The my biggest goal in life is to live the talk that I give on the stage and to live the books that I've written. And yeah, I fail often, but I'm trying hard.
Well, I guess another thing, and this, I guess this comes from my perspective as a professional speaker as well. There's some people are they have a certain persona when they're on stage, and a different when we're off stage. In some cases, that's really positive on stage and just complete asses when they get
Mm.
off stage. But you are so consistent with living your talk always. It's refreshing to see that, and I think it's a really good model, for all of us. Why be different? People want to see who you are, and they do that one on one, and they see that when you're speaking to hundreds of people.
Well, thank you. Yes, I mean, I always joke I don't have the capacity in my brain to keep track of two personas and two ways of being, and it's just easier to just be the same person all the time.
Yeah,
Uh, um, but I also think now more than ever, uh, people are very attuned to the things that are not authentic.
yeah.
People smell it, people can sense it, and they tune out. And so I think if you want to have any kind of influence over people, then the only way to do that is to be as real as you can be.
Yeah, totally agree. Mark, without giving away any secrets, actually, I do want you to give away secrets. When you are speaking to groups, what are some of the topics that you bring up, and what are some of the lessons that you hope people take away from hearing your words and benefiting from your experience?
So the core of my message right now, and it's funny, I'm a quote unquote resilience expert, and I say quote unquote because I don't like the word expert because I don't feel like I am one yet. Uh, and secondly, I know that people are starting to roll their eyes at that term. So
Okay, I'm just gonna have to stop and tell you my bias. I agree. I don't like being framed as an expert, but I'm quite comfortable saying I have expertise.
there
And
you
I
go.
think
Okay.
you could very clearly say that you have expertise when it
Okay.
comes to resilience, and
Well,
let someone else use whatever the heck label they want.
I like that. I like that. And so yeah, so the first big concept for people is the idea of acceptance, which is not a novel concept, uh, but it's a challenging thing to live in a world where we increasingly can go through life feeling like we are just puppeteers, that we can just kind of make everything work around us, right? The level of convenience that most of us have as North Americans is pretty insane. And it can be very easily detached from the reality that we simply don't control everything, right? And all it
Yeah.
takes is an accident or an illness or a natural disaster or something to remind us that, wow, a lot of our life is out of our control.
Mhm.
And unless and until we come to terms with that, I think we cause ourselves a lot of stress and anxiety trying to grasp at things that we can't fix. And so one of the things that I work with my clients on is let's look at the whatever situation you're dealing with and what lies outside of our control that we just need to put in the back burner and take off of our radar because it's occupying mental and emotional space for us and there's nothing we can do about it. So that might be, there's massive layoffs going on in the company. Okay, well, unless I'm the person making those decisions, that fact changes nothing about how I behave, or it shouldn't, right? Or there's industrial disruption. Okay, well, great. So we can't control that, but what can we control? And then the second piece to that is we don't stay in acceptance because I always joke We all know someone who's really good at accepting to the point that everything is outside of their control and everything is
Mhm.
somebody else's fault. And then we become victims. So we don't want to do that. Right. So after we accept, then we adapt. We say, okay, well, what are the parts that I do control? And how has the world changed? Or
Mhm.
the environment changed, or my company changed, or whatever? And how do I, as an individual, now change accordingly so that I can be as effective as possible in this new world? And so you and I went through, the challenges of COVID, right? And here we are doing a video podcast together. When I don't know about you, but 2019, I'd been on Skype 4 times. Like I didn't, this was not something that I knew how to do. And then we all had to figure out how to be speakers in a virtual world. And it was adapt or die, right? It was figure it out or go find a real job. I told my wife one day in like April of 2020, I'm either going to have to figure out how to do this virtual thing or I'm going to have to go get a real job. And luckily I figured it out. But
Yeah, and those lessons. I know that. Well, they sound sort of reminiscent of some of the Stoic philosophers. Like that. That's pretty core, and I know that's. You are very familiar with that as well, and it's it's such a great way to live life. And sure, someone might have come up with that way of looking at things 2,000 years ago, but what the heck, right? Right. Might as well
yeah,
use it because it's so practical.
it is. Well, and what's funny, David, is that I had written my book, and uh, I'm very self-critical, but this one I was like, well, this is pretty good. And and it was around the same time that I was digging into Stoics for the first time and quickly realized, oh, none of this is new.
So,
I'm
so
not
Mark,
nearly as clever as I thought I was.
oh, you probably are. Just there's other ways to say it. It's
Eh,
parallel evolution. My academic background's in geology, and it's parallel evolution. Things can start in places thousands and thousands of
mhm.
miles apart, right? Because there's some kind of organizing structure, whatever, that said this is something that's the right thing to do. But it's probably another conversation. So for sure, I want to make sure that we put reference to your book in the program notes and anything else, any other contact information. But could you just say a word about your book, Mark, its title and what it's about and why people might enjoy it?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So it's called The Resilience Roadmap, 7 guideposts for charting your course in a chaotic world. And it is a 7-step framework. It's my framework for dealing with not just dealing with adversity, but actually how do we create post-traumatic growth from adversity? How do we
Hmm.
grow through a challenge as opposed to just surviving it? And I hope that it's going to be continually relevant as we're dealing with a new world of AI and whatever else comes next. And the world is changing faster and faster all the time. And I don't think that's a bad thing. In fact, I think it's whether or not it's a good thing or bad thing largely depends on how we frame it.
So
And
then, so you wrote this book how long ago?
came out in 2024.
And do you remember the 7 steps?
Yes.
Okay, so here I'm going to put you on the spot here, Mark, because what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to pick a number of numbers between 1 and 7 and ask you just describe the principle with the hope that people so want the others that they're going to go buy your book. So,
I love it.
okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay, so the short description of, okay, number 2.
Number 2 is agency. So there's 7 A's. So agency is about reminding ourselves that we have the capacity to create change and that whatever is going on around us, swirling around us, there's always some aspect of it that we can do something about.
Okay, so victim be gone.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say, how about number 5?
5 would be aspire, which is that we need to have some sort of North Star to work towards. One of my favorite quotes um, is from Van Gogh, philosopher, said, "The person with a big enough why can endure anyhow." And
Uh-huh.
so, if we know where we're going, why we're going there, it propels us through some of the challenging times in our lives.
Okay, you're doing very good. You know your book. Okay. Um, number 6, and I'm not going to ask number 7 because that's kind of like the conclusion. It's like that last note that begs to be heard because it's built up to this. So,
There you go.
right,
Okay,
right. So
so
number
number
6.
6 is about action. One of my pet peeves as a primarily keynote people call me a motivational speaker. I don't really like that term, but anyway. And one of my pet peeves about speakers like me is that we talk a lot about goals and about dreams and about we can do this and we can do that. And we don't talk a lot about the nitty gritty of actually doing the work. And so action is all about reminding us that marathons are run one step at a time, that
Mm.
books are written one word at a time, that businesses are built one sale at a time. And we have to just go and do the work.
Very cool. Okay, so there's 4 other principal steps that people have to get the book for that if they want it all, which I hope they do. So I got to take a little bit of a different direction here, Mark, and ask you this. I one of the questions I ask some of my leadership in a certain leadership workshop is what's lesson about leadership that you wish you learned earlier or less painfully. So I got to ask that, which is a lot of people thinking about. Yeah, I now know this to be true instead of a whole list from a book that someone says is the case. So in your role as the president of CAPS, what are some of the leadership lessons that you might have acquired or insights that you have as a result of being moved into this position of well, authority with no power
Yeah,
to
exactly.
really support an organization. When you think about, it's now December and of 2025, and you're through your year. So, what are some of the things you've learned so far that you anticipate you're going to learn about leading as a result of this experience?
Oh, wow. So many things. We go further together. It's slower together, but it's further together. And so the temptation for me is to just do it and do it on my own because it's quicker. But it doesn't get the same result and we don't get the same buy-in and it's just not as effective. And so reminding myself to get a group to get consensus and get people involved is important. Um, reminding us, which I guess goes along with that, is that uh, different perspectives can again slow things down in the beginning, but ultimately creates a better product in the end. And so, while there are, as you know, in the board discussions, several animated discussions about a variety of things, uh, ultimately, I think most of the time that creates a better end result, even if sometimes
Mm.
we go in circles and even if sometimes it can get heated. I think it creates a more well-rounded solution in the end. And so giving people the voice and the space to do that is something that I always try and work on. Um, yeah. And then, and then the other one is anytime you have more than 50 people together, there's going to be somebody happy and somebody not happy. And make your peace with that.
Great, awesome. And this kind of relates maybe a little bit to the second one that you mentioned, but I I remember when you were chairing a committee that I was on last year that we had a lot of heavy lifting, and you
Yes.
were very good at the transparency of, I don't know a lot about this, you do, and sort of not feeling that because you were the chair, you had to have all the answers, and really let other people that have that step forward. And I really appreciated that rather than trying to fake it, that I'm in this role and I have to be the one with the answers. You were so willing to let other people take the lead. And it wasn't like you were absolving yourself of responsibility for being the chair. Quite the opposite, that you were being more effective by allowing other people to that. At least that's what I felt, and the
Well,
committee that you were chairing that I was on.
that and we did do a ton of heavy lifting. And thank you for that. That means a lot because that was the goal. Um, yeah, and the 25-year-old me wouldn't have done that. I think it comes with experience and mistakes and realizing that you don't know everything and that people can usually tell. And so why not just be transparent about it and draw on the strengths of the people around you because why work in a group otherwise, right? If we can't say you're strong here and I'm weak here. Let's draw on that. It just makes sense.
So this is all very, like I could keep this conversation going for hours. I won't, but just to let you know I could. So one other question is that I've been listening to a fellow named Steve Dotto, who does a lot on technology and things like that. And he has something called the gray wave and how to help, people that are 50 and older start a business. What do you have to bring to it? And today the session, I've known Steve for like decades. Today he was talking about how, one of the things we have is experience, but I think one of the things that's just as important or maybe more important than experience is wisdom. Because you can have a lot of experience, but not necessarily have that in a way that's absorbable for other people. right? So if you were to think about some of the wisdom, not in an arrogant, hey, here's stuff I know that you don't, but sort of the person who sits back and is at peace with themselves, has something that they could share that would help other people benefit, or at least to offer it. Whether they choose to pick it up or not, it's a different story. But some wisdom, and I know that's laying a lot on you to say so. Offer some wisdom. For those, because this is an audio podcast, you can't see the faces Mark is making, but let me tell you, there's some great ones. But what was some wisdom that you'd like to just put out for consideration? Just one or two things.
Okay. So live today is a tattoo that I have on my arm, which if you're listening, you can't see, but it's
I could see it.
it's there. Uh, and what that means to me is not live every day like it's your last day, which is a
Mm,
cliche that we've all heard, but to be present each day and to appreciate that life is finite. Again, that's it's another stoic philosophy.
mhm,
Uh, but it's a constant, again, that comes obviously from my health challenges, reminds me regularly that we can't take tomorrow for granted. And that's not in a, I don't, I say that and some people think it's very gloomy and I don't consider it that way at all. It's a reminder to not waste time.
mhm,
It's a reminder to try and live as fully and completely as we can and to not put off until tomorrow what can be done today. And especially if those things are things like making sure the people we love know we love them. Um, so yeah, I think that's the first kind of bit of wisdom, maybe. Um, and the second one, I don't know that I have a good line for it, but it's just the importance of perspective and that 30,000 foot view that
mm, mm,
most of the things that stress us out today won't matter in a week or a month. That if you can't control it, it's not worth your time to worry about it. And just kind of having that wider focus just
mm.
lowers the stress and anxiety level of pretty much everything you're dealing with in life. Uh,
Like
so
I love that. Reminds me of a song. Bette Midler did it. She wasn't the one who first did it, but it was called "From a Distance." And I've used that. Used to do that when I was teaching conflict resolution workshops many gazillion years ago. About that thing about you're talking about perspective, and so from a distance, everything looks very small.
mm,
Like, and don't take yourself so bloody seriously as well, because it's kind of like, you are here and here's the universe. And sometimes just periodically shifting that perspective to get that broader sense, that I think actually, rather than I find that intimidating, I find it freeing, because
yes,
nothing I could do, whether it works or doesn't work, is all that important. So why am I creating anxiety over that?
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we work in a world where we're publishing things on social media and we're writing books and we're doing all these things, and yet at the end of the day, if we think about it, most people won't remember a year after we're gone, and fewer still 5 years after we're gone, and by 50 years, no one will know who we are. So, yeah, why are we so stressed about all these things?
There was another, like, all these conversations trigger other things that I haven't thought about for quite a while. And I remember there was, I think it was Percy Bysshe Shelley or something like that, and probably in high school, there was a poem entitled "Is My Team Plowing?" And it was this fellow up in heaven, asking, "Is my team plowing?" Looking down on earth, and everything else was still basically the same as when he left.
Mhm.
So, so I think that too is important to hang on to.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, it can make you feel small and insignificant if you see it the wrong or that way. Or it can be very liberating to just say, like if I
It's
make a
a
mistake, I make a mistake. It's okay.
it's a
Life will go
choice.
on.
It's a
Yeah.
choice we can make, right?
Yeah.
Mark, I so appreciate you taking the time to be on this podcast, and I realize I really miss working with you, like not being on the board this year, and the FOMO is pretty intense. That's why after I guess 12 years of being on the board, I got back on the board, which is kind of crazy. But it's because I enjoy interacting with people like you and learning from people like you and seeing what the power that an individual has to contribute to the benefit of others. And you are such a shining example of that. So, Mark, thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you very much, David. It's a treat to talk to you. Yeah, we haven't had enough time to talk lately, so this has been great.
So, David Gouthro, discover fresh perspectives. I'm sure you have received some today, and next week you'll probably have some more and ones that are different. Look forward to being with you then. Subscribe now, because on Fresh Perspectives, every episode is an opportunity to explore new horizons and redefine what's achievable.